Welcome, everybody. We're so happy you joined and are very excited. My name is Gail Schorsch, and I'm the director of Bronx Eats, which is all about making healthy cooking and eating a community habit through hands-on food education. And I'm thrilled this evening to be partnering with plant-powered Metro New York to bring you Bronx Cooks Together, a series of culinary demonstrations featuring Bronx chefs.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vivian Lee, and I am the Plant Powered Metro New York organizer, one of their organizers. Plant Powered Metro New York promotes our collective health empowerment by educating about the power of whole food, plant-based nutrition. This is an evidence-based approach to nutrition that can prevent, treat, and sometimes even reverse chronic illness, including heart disease, diabetes, cancers, and more. Bronx Cooks Together will help you explore the delicious flavors of plant-based cuisine prepared with minimal processed ingredients to show you how fun and easy it is to make health-promoting dishes at home with fresh ingredients.
So we hope that you'll repeat what you learn here after class or later in the week. You're also free to try to cook along at home right now, but that is not required. If you did not receive the recipes in advance, please use the chat button, chat option, and one of us will get back to you with the recipes right away. As we get started, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box, where you're from, what you hope to learn today. And as a reminder, please mute yourselves to minimize background noise throughout the program. We definitely encourage you to ask questions through the chat box as the demo proceeds, and some of them we'll answer in real time and others we will save until the end.
Okay, having said that, I will introduce our presenter for this evening. Mena is the proud Bronxite behind Next Stop Vegan, the Bronx's first vegan meal prep service company. She discovered a profound passion towards cultures and food, which led her to move across the country to Los Angeles and then to South Korea, where she honed her craft as a self-taught chef and budding entrepreneur while receiving a plant-based nutrition certificate through the eCornell program. When she found her way back home, Blenlly started Next Stop Vegan from the small kitchen at her mother's apartment. She then moved the business to her sister's home, and when faced with a lack of storage and an incredible increase in customers, she then decided to find an establishment with her sister. And on the corner of Archer Avenue in the Parkchester area of the Bronx, you can find the home for Next Stop Vegan, where together with her family, they create delicious and nutritious vegan meals inspired by their Latino roots and fueled by Blenlly's love for the earth, animals, and the community. So welcome.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. There is two cameras that I'm using, the one that's facing forward just to show you the table and demonstration, and the one on the side, which is going to be where I will be showing you closer the ingredients that I'm using and also the techniques that I'm using as well. But if you have any questions, feel free, as Vivian and Gail mentioned, to use the chat room to ask any questions, and I'll gladly stop or pause or just slow down if you need me to. For today, I was asked to do three versions of meals that are whole food plant-based. So therefore, we're making the healthiest vegan options that there is. We're using absolutely zero oil, and we're using absolutely zero processed food. The only thing that we're using instead of supplements for salt is actually Himalayan salt, which is much healthier. And then I'll show you everything else that I'll be using throughout the course of the meal. As you probably learned from the email, there will be a beets hummus that is made with beets, chickpeas, and tahini sauce, and then the rest of the seasonings that you'll see in the recipes. And the second course, which would be a lunch or a quick dinner for yourself or your family, is a tuna sandwich, which is not tuna, it is chickpeas. And the last one for dessert is a banana ice cream. For those of you that have never had a banana ice cream, you are going to be shocked, and you're going to do this every single day because it is so delicious and so fulfilling that your children and you will be craving this every day. So to start, I am Dominican, so we don't normally use recipes. So it was very difficult for me to actually provide recipes for Vivian to forward over to you guys. But I did actually get the measurements right because I did try them and they're pretty much on point. As I'm going along, if you guys have any questions, let me know. But in the meantime, what we would need for our beet hummus is the following. And I have already over here on this, I'm gonna show you here, are cooked beets, and they have been actually peeled. They have been cut into 4 pieces, and it's about 4 beets. Depending on how much hummus you're trying to create for your family, or if this is for a party or a venue, then you will need to add more beets. But for now, I'm using 4 beets, small beets, and they actually are organic. I got these at Whole Foods, but you can find beets basically in any market. Especially if you live in the Bronx, there's always Korean markets in almost every other corner. There's beets available all the time. I prefer using non-canned beets because it's not processed. I also have here behind me a cup of, let me just, right here. I have a can of garbanzos. These are organic garbanzo. They're $1.79 in Whole Foods. So again, we're not only doing easy recipes, but also inexpensive recipes that you can create at a budget. So to start, we will actually combine the beets and the garbanzo. We use a processor. I try to make 3 different versions of courses, one with a processor, one with your hand, which would be the chickpea tuna, and then the other one is going to be with a blender. That way, in case you don't have any of the equipment, you can learn how to make them with other equipment that you might have at home, or you can actually mash it yourself. So using the processor, I'm gonna put it on pause. It's gonna be a little noisy, so please pardon the noise, so just bear with me. And as you can see, it starts blending and creating this awesome color. So I'm gonna—
Blenlly, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you tell people whether that's raw beets or cooked beets?
Yeah, these are cooked beets. They actually have been cooked. I put them in a boiled water for about, I want to say 25 to 30 minutes. The way that I actually demonstrate in the recipe is to, with a fork, the way that you can test is by just pinching in, or like, you know, putting your fork across the beets, and if it's soft and tender, that's when you know that they're ready to actually put in the processor. For the ones that are not cooked and tender, you just keep adding water if the water dries out, but you should have enough water to cover all the beets, and it boils all at the same time. And these took about 25 to 30 minutes on high temperature. So as I demonstrated, they're picking up on the color, combining together with the processor. So I'm going to just keep processing them to make it more softer, the texture. And at this point, I want to start adding my ingredients. So again, basic processing method. Again, you can use it and do it yourself without the processor by hand, which is a little bit more challenging, but it's feasible. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of tahini. Use this one instead because this one is a new one. So tahini you could pick up is sesame seeds, and you could pick up tahini in most Indian markets and also Whole Foods and Trader Joe's as well. And I'm not sure if any other supermarkets might have it, but I always pick mine up at Whole Foods or when I go to Asian markets. And it's a delicious substitute to also create salads and salad dressings as well. So 3 tablespoons of the tahini. Then we're going to take fresh squeezed lime or lemon to your discretion. And I'm going to use here 3 to 5. I said 5, but I like my stuff very citrusy, my hummuses. So you can feel free to experiment at home. And depending on how you feel, you can add more of whatever ingredient once you start processing. I'll take 1 tablespoon or teaspoon, pardon me, of garlic. And this is already crushed garlic. And I use it at home often, so we usually always have garlic, but if you don't, you can just use 1 garlic clove and use that instead. A small garlic clove would be more than substantial. I like to add some paprika to my hummus, whether it's beet hummus or regular hummus. I just use 1 teaspoon, very little of that. And then salt, pepper, and vinegar. Basic ingredients that you can find anywhere. And in terms of salt and pepper, use your discretion and be generous about it. We're using Himalayan salt, which is actually much healthier, but you don't want to over salt your hummus, so just start tasting as you go. And for pepper, just generous amount of pepper. And then my vinegar, I'll use 1 tablespoon. And this is pretty much it. Usually, if you want to do the other type of hummus, you can add some extra virgin olive oil, but in this particular demonstration, we're trying to steer away from oil. So this is the basic and the foundation. So I'm gonna close this one more time, and I'm gonna actually let it process longer so that you can see the texture of this process. And if I come closer, I could come on this angle. This is what it looks like. Such a pretty pink. I could come closer here on the main angle. You could pick up the corners of the processor and keep processing it to pick up everything in case there's any residue of hummus, of beets or chickpeas. But the texture and the color is so beautiful. So once you process it one last time to clean up the processor, you are ready to go. So this is my final product. I love this. It's so easy, so convenient, so inexpensive. And this is the aftermath of it. You can eat it with crackers, you can put it on the bread, you can put it on a salad, you can have it as an additional protein meal. You could eat it with celery, you could eat it with carrots. I mean, you could get so creative with an eggplant, with a hummus. And another thing that I want to give you guys is a bonus. If you don't want to use beets, you can use the same ingredients and you can use eggplants, or you can just keep it basic and eat it with chickpeas, or you can add lentil. You can just get so creative with hummuses. I mean, I'm sure you've seen roasted potato, peppers, pardon me, garlic. Just keep it basic or get creative with it. Recipes are available everywhere, but this recipe itself is very basic, very straightforward, and very inexpensive and easy to make. So any questions regarding the beets hummus?
Yeah, there was a question asking about vinegar, and I think you said that you're using lemon and then you don't need vinegar. Is that correct?
Yeah, that could be a possibility. I personally like vinegar because it gives a little potent, acidy flavor to it. But of course, you can totally omit the vinegar and keep the lime itself, or lemon. Lemon and limes are both equally delicious for this particular dish. So yes, you could omit the vinegar, or you can just use either the vinegar or not the lemons, or etc., depending on what you have at home. Sometimes you're in a rush and you forget some ingredients, so you have either one of the options. Any other questions? I think I see something pop up there.
Oh, I don't know if you can answer this one. Somebody wants to know, what do beets taste like?
Oh my God, well, I don't know. It's very grainy. I would say it tastes very, it depends how you cook it. I mean, my family and I would do beets with sometimes apple cider, with maple syrup or agave, and we will sweeten it and slice it, and that would be a very nice sweet treat. If you eat it raw, it just tastes very, for me, it tastes very grainy or earthy, but it depends how you're working around it. With this particular dish, it tastes very much like hummus, but it still has a kick of a different flavor that you cannot pick up unless you're using the color, which is pink, you know it's hummus. But if you're just trying to experience the flavors right now with this particular hummus, I don't think you could pinpoint that is beets, in case you don't like it. But it is so healthy for you, so I recommend please using it at least in one of your dishes. Any other questions?
I think you can jump right into the next.
Awesome. So that's the beet hummus. I hope you guys make it, and if you do, make sure you tag me at Next Stop Vegan. I would love to see the final products, and hopefully you have some children watching this and also enjoying it eventually. The next dish is very easy. I call this my favorite and the easiest dish in the whole wide world. It's called a tuna sandwich. But of course, we are vegan here, so we don't use anything that's animal products. So instead, I use chickpeas. Again, focusing on the same kind of ingredient, the base being chickpeas, to create so many different varieties of food. In this particular case, I'm going to use a bowl, and I put a can of organic garbanzos again, as I did earlier, and I drain it. I usually wash my, anything that's in a can, I let it sit for a few minutes with white vinegar, and then I wash it again with water, and then I drain it, and this is the final result. It's nice and clean. So I use this technique, and what I need to do is mash my chickpeas. I'm not sure if you guys can see there. Very easy with my fork. If you have a potato masher, you can use that as well, which is much easier, especially if you have a big quantity of garbanzo. I'm going to set my processor on the side here so that I can use the space to show you guys. So here we go. I'm just mashing my garbanzos, and I did this earlier. As you can see, this is a demo of what it looks like. This is a tuna sandwich, delicious. And I use spinach. I did mention cabbage as the green that you can put in a sandwich, but you can use spinach, you can use chard, you can use lettuce. If you like tomatoes, you can add more or less, or take it off. Onions, remove it or add it. Pickles. I mean, you could get very creative with whatever toppings you want to add to your sandwich. So here I am just mashing. This takes literally a few minutes. And once you start mashing to the point where you have all your chickpeas already mashed together, then you start adding your ingredients. In this particular case, I love carrots and celery together. It gives the tuna, if you will, quote unquote, not tuna, the chickpea, it gives it a flavor of like fish. Something about celery and carrots, I don't know. It just gives it that little extra funk and color as well. So here I am. My chickpeas is all mashed. I'll show you up here as well. And now I'm going to add 1 carrot and 1 celery stalk. And I just add it to my chickpeas. And I just mix it in together. Again, very quick, very easy. This is a quick lunch, high protein, low carb, unless you want to eat the bread. In this case, I use a whole grain bread with 12 different grains. So I stick to the healthiest versions of everything. You can also eat this with crackers, or you can eat it with a wrap and make a wrap out of it. Instead of adding mayo, in this particular case, which not using mayo, we're not using any type of oil, I will recommend to look for a recipe that you can make mayo from tofu, which in this case I didn't make because I wanted to keep it as simple and as inexpensive and also as easy as possible. So here I have all my tuna mixed in, and I'm going to add my ingredients. In this particular case, we have basically almost the same ingredients as the hummus, which makes it even easier because you're gonna have the same thing in your house. So we have about 2 to 3 or 4 to 5, depending on how you like your hummus, your tuna. If you like it to be nice and citrusy. Here we have 1 teaspoon of garlic, or again, you can mash or crush a garlic clove. Then again, if you guys want to add the vinegar, or if you don't, at your discretion. In this particular case, I guess this audience doesn't like vinegar, so I'm going to add half a tablespoon and keep it that way. That way no one gets bothered by the citrusy. And then generous amounts of salt, not too crazy because we don't want to make it too salty. And then some pepper. And of course, my paprika. Again, same ingredients, very basic and very straight to the point.
So Blenlly, there was a question about whether you can use cannelloni beans instead of the chickpeas.
Yes, I actually have used cannelloni beans because they actually taste very much like chickpeas and they look very much like chickpeas. That is a great question. I actually have mixed both, and I have just used cannelloni beans as well. And I particularly like to add, I don't know if you guys have heard of kelp salt. This is what it looks like. It's available at Whole Foods and some Asian markets. This is a great substitute for a fishy flavor. I'm choosing not to add it because we're trying to omit on the amount of salt. But if you want to add a pinch of that, that would be great as well. So guys, this is it. This is your tuna right here. You could try it and taste it if you need to add more lemon, if you need to add a little bit more vinegar, or you want to choose to not add any of them, if you want to add more salt, more pepper, more paprika, if you want to get creative and add basil or parsley, you can just really go all out and call it, you know, call it your best tuna sandwich. And then over here, I have my toast with my spinach, my onions and tomatoes, and I'm ready to make a sandwich. Very basic, very simple, very low carb, very inexpensive, and at the same time delicious, which is what we're trying to strive for here.
Blenlly, sorry, there was another question. Are the carrots and the celery diced or grated?
Yes. So the carrots, that's a great question. The carrots is actually shredded, and the celery is actually hand cut with a knife, and I just diced it myself. But you can choose to actually put both of them in a processor and just process it to make it either shred it or just to make it very fine so that you don't taste it as much. And again, the carrots and celery is optional. If some people don't like carrots or don't like the taste of celery, you can use less or use more or just omit altogether. I've done myself tuna for people that are allergic to carrots with just celery or with none, because it depends on the client's interest. So feel free to get creative with it and just do whatever rocks your boat, if you will.
And there was another question about whether you can add onions to this tuna.
Yes, of course. My mom would love the person that asked that question, because my mom uses onions and garlic on everything. I personally don't care so much for raw onions like that, unless it's like on a sandwich and it's like the big slices of them. But if you do want to get creative and add it to the actual mixture, you can also slice it or dice it yourself and add it in there as well, whether red or whether the white one. Very delicious. Great questions.
Okay, and back to the earlier recipes, somebody wanted to know about the difference whether you boil the beets or roast them. Do you have a feeling about roasting?
Great question. I think that I've never done roasted beets, but I think it'll come out very delicious regardless. I feel like anything roasty will be very good on a hummus. I have had myself roasted paprika hummuses and they taste amazing. We've actually also done it ourselves and we absolutely love it. So if you do want to roast your beets, feel free to do so. I think that'll be a great pick for a new hummus, for sure. And also boiling it is obviously the normal option, but the roasting would be a great idea. Any other questions?
Well, there is a question. It's not really a question, but somebody is saying that they put vegan mayo. And
yes, I do too. I do also add vegan mayo, but unfortunately for this particular presentation, we wanted to steer away from oil or anything that's highly processed. So therefore, I was asked to not add the mayo, which is totally okay. And that's what we're here for, to help people educate themselves and learn alternatives to other things. So vegan mayo will be even tastier, much more tastier. But like I said, even if you don't want to buy the vegan mayo, you can actually create your own using tofu. And tofu, all you need to do is use tofu, Dijon mustard, some salt, some pepper, and I think there's one ingredient I'm missing, and that's a mayo for you at home. So something that's easy to make, less processed, and less oily as well. Yes.
I think I just would like to inform you that someone is cooking along Blenlly with you.
That's
so
awesome.
maybe the person can share her dish at the end.
Please share or come into the camera and show us what you have. Is that okay, Vivian, if they show up?
Yeah, we can say that towards the end if that person hasn't finished it already. But.
That's awesome. No problem. That would be really cool. I would love to see what they're creating. I mean, this is very basic, so I'm sure. And I also added here sriracha. I put it on the table because I love a little kick of spice at the end. But again, you could just add hot sauce, sriracha, ketchup. You could, play ball. This is honestly, this is the demo, but you can do everything and anything you want to do at home as long as you keep it vegan. Any other questions?
Oh, Ava, she finished the hummus and the tuna.
Ava!
Oh, she's making everything.
That's my client from Queens.
Oh. Ava, do you have actually anything left? Do you want to show us? Or you finished everything?
No, I'm cooking. I'm gonna eat it later, but I'll show you. Hi guys.
Hi.
Don't look at my ceiling. Okay.
I love it.
Let's see.
Oh god, I'm trying to turn my camera around. Sorry.
Let's see what you got, girl.
Okay, so here's my chickpea salad.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
I put a little Dijon mustard in it.
Okay, that's a great pointer too. Dijon mustard gives an extra kick of flavor to your tuna salad as well.
Yes, and I actually had some the kelp, so I put the kelp.
Yes. Okay. You're elevating your tuna now.
Yes. Okay, and here's my hummus.
Ooh, it looks so good. How does it taste?
It's so good. Oh my god. I can't wait to eat it tomorrow. It's pretty warm because I was cooking the beets and everything while you were talking, but tomorrow it's on.
So maybe you can talk for a minute, Blenlly, about storage, right? If you make this beautiful dish and you're not prepared to eat all of it, is it fine? How do you store it?
Yes. Of course, Gail. Yes, you can definitely feel free to store any of this for up to 5 days. I would say would be safest, depending. It's summertime, so some refrigerators might not be at the best. But keep it up to 5 days. You keep it in a sealed container and eat it as a snack every day. Like I said earlier, the beet hummus you can eat as a bread spread instead of avocado or mayo. You can eat it with crackers. You can eat it with celery, fruits. Obviously, it depends on your palate and how creative you want to get with it. But feel free to store it up to 5 days, just like the tuna as well. Yes.
Okay, Ava, thank you so much for sharing that. That was inspiring the rest of us.
Yes, Ava, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and feel free to keep elevating your experience.
Absolutely.
I see you. We usually will add Dijon. We usually add Mayo. We usually add a little bit extra kick. So we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So Ava did the elevator version. This is the next stop vegan meal version.
So the last question on the tuna dish is, does it taste like tuna?
Yes. That is a very good question. I feel like a lot of people might not believe me, but please try it and you will see for yourself. Something about chickpeas just tastes like tuna when you're making it with the intention of being tuna. And you also have to use your psychological interest to understand that it's not real fishy, but there's a kick to it. Especially if you add the kelp seasoning, that kelp salt definitely gives it a little extra kick of a salty kind of fishy flavor. So yes, it does. Please try it and let me know.
Okay.
Awesome.
Ready for the ice cream?
Yes, I'm ready for dessert always. So for dessert, it is so simple. I am like, honestly, this is the best creation in the whole wide world. Whomever created this is a genius, and I am just grateful for that person. So we usually buy a lot of bananas for the business or at home. As a vegan, a lot of people don't like bananas, and it's okay. You can actually use, instead of banana, cashews to make an ice cream. So just FYI for those people that don't like bananas. So for bananas, what I do, I let them ripe. I let them sit to the point that they're almost like about to spoil and you want to throw them out. That it looks black as you open them. And this is what they actually look like, almost like they're about to spoil. And bananas will never spoil unless, you know, they're really spoiled. But I usually take them at this point and I put them in the freezer. And I have bins and bins and bins of frozen bananas because this is such a great smoothie user, and also for ice cream and for desserts and for acai bowls. So here I have about maybe 3 or 4 bananas sliced or in chunks. Put it in my blender, again, using a new equipment. Now we're using a blender. It could be whatever size, or you can also use a processor as well. So it's up to you, whichever you feel like is more handy. And then after I add my bananas, I will add some dates. And the reason why I'm using dates is because it is not only the healthiest option of sweetening, but it's also sweet, it's healthy, it's great, it's filling, and it just tastes really delicious. So I have like 3 here. And I bought fresh mint. I actually bought a mint plant. And this smells so good. It's actually mint. And if you don't have a mint tree or you haven't purchased the mint, you can actually also use mint extract, maybe like 2 drops because it's very strong. But I prefer to have the original mint flavor. It tastes delicious, it's amazing. I'm also gonna add here 1/2 cup of oat milk, but you can add almond milk, you can add soy milk, you can add hemp milk, whatever type of milk you want. Or you don't have to add milk if you don't want. In fact, I have actually done ice cream with just water because I haven't had milk. So there you go, you get very creative with it. In addition to that, I will add some cinnamon if I want to, etc. But for this recipe, keeping it very basic and very straightforward, I have my oat milk banana, which is frozen. We have my mint leaves and my dates, and I'm going to pulse it. Oh, let me connect this, sorry. Okay, here we go. So in this case, sometimes if the banana is very hot today, so the banana is already melty, it's not as icy or as frozen as it should be to make it more ice cream texture. But If you want to add more bananas, I can actually go and get some more, but they're very frozen. So if you want to add more frozen banana, that would be a great way to keep that texture going. Right now, it's kind of like a smoothie. I would say it's too soft. So in this case, this is me experimenting with you guys live. But in this case, if I was at home doing it for myself, I would just add more bananas, more frozen banana, and less milk or no more milk. Or perhaps I would cut down on the milk just to keep the texture of the ice cream. So I'm pretty much done. If this was actually the texture of the ice cream, I would just pour it into whatever container. In this case, I decided to use a martini glass, which mom will kill me for. But I decided to add a martini glass and then add some cacao nibs and a mint. I'll show you guys up here too, to kind of keep it just kind of fancy and beautiful. But this is the simplicity of an amazing ice cream. And again, if anyone tries it or does it after this presentation, please let me know how delicious it is. You guys are gonna love it. You will love it. It's so simple. So like I said, when it's just too soft, add more frozen bananas and reduce the intake of liquid like milk or anything like that, just to keep the consistency much more thicker. And like I said, if you don't want to use bananas, you can also make it with cashews.
So there are a few questions.
Yes.
I have a question, which
Please.
is, when you're putting in the frozen bananas, are you wanting them to still be chunky, or you really want to use the mixer to make them all smooth?
You could actually, are you mentioning the size of the bananas that you want to put in the fridge, in the freezer?
No, I'm saying you take the frozen bananas out and put them in there. Do you want to still taste the chunks, or do you want it to be smooth by the time?
No, from my personal taste, everyone is different. I would prefer to just smooth it all the way out where you don't taste nothing. If you add the dates, you're gonna also feel like the dates do taste a little more chunkier. So you might want to keep blending it, or not, again, reduce on the dates. But I personally like the feel of a little chunks of dates because that's the extra sweet kick on it. I also forgot to add, I apologize, a little bit of salt. Everything sweet should definitely have a pinch of salt just to kind of balance the sweetness. So don't forget, guys, to add that little extra hint of salt. And I did put it on the recipe, but feel free to, don't go too crazy on the salt because it's gonna be too salty and you're gonna miss the sweetness point. But definitely a kick of it will take it to the next level. But I would say for you, Gail, it depends on how you like to feel your food and the texture. Some people don't like to feel textures of anything, the feeling of frozen banana is not the best. But keep blending it until you actually get it to a point where it's just soft and beautiful. And you're gonna always remember this demo for sure.
Okay, the next question is, can you use vanilla, maple, or almond extract?
Yes, of course, yes. One of the things that I usually will add is agave for sure, and I will omit the dates because I like to eat dates more on a raw myself, just as a sweet treat. So I will add agave or maple syrup, and I will add vanilla extract, and I would definitely add cinnamon to it. So I personally like to do that, but for the purpose of this demo, I wanted to keep it, again, simple, less complicating, and less sweet. So I was asked to keep it very basic. But yes, please feel free to get creative. In fact, I get so creative that I might even add 1 or 2 tablespoons of peanut butter or almond butter, or even any nuts. I'll just grab nuts and I'll throw it in there to get that crunch. But this is a mint ice cream, so you want to try to keep it minty and less complicating, but you can make an ice cream of anything. Peanut butter, almond butter, you can add peaches or strawberries and make it kind of like a sorbet ice cream with banana. Oh my God, amazing. Amazing.
Great. So people want to know more about your restaurant and where it is and how they can stay in touch with you.
Yes, so we are located at 1818 Archer Street. The name of our business is Next Stop Vegan, and I'm gonna just put the business card here so you guys can see Next Stop Vegan. And we could be found on Instagram. Our hours of operation at the moment is Friday, Saturday, and Sundays from 12 to 5. And this is due to COVID and just kind of trying to enhance, get back into the role of normalization, if you will. But please feel free to direct message us on Instagram, email us anytime. Our information will be in our profile. Our website is next.vegan.com. And I'm always there. I'm always available. Any questions regarding these recipes or anything else, feel free to contact me.
Okay, so if people want to ask a few more questions,
Yes.
we can still take them,
Yes,
and
of course.
we'll give people a minute to just.
Thank you, Vivian, for putting our information.
No problem. I'm curious, has anyone else been cooking along with Chef Blenlly this evening besides Ava? If you'd like to show off your dishes at this time, we'd love to see it.
Maybe some ice cream.
Ice cream.
And if you are not, it's okay, as long as you do it and then maybe share with us. That would be really cool.
Yes, you can tag both next.vegan and us at Plant Power MNY on Instagram.
Yes.
Well,
Oh,
people
we have
try the recipes tomorrow, somebody says. So you've inspired, even though they haven't cooked along, they're ready to try.
Great, great, great. And a lot of these ingredients are very easy to find. Everything is less than $10 here. You know, like you're gonna have always, you know, salt and pepper at home. You're usually gonna have vinegar. You're probably gonna have garlic already. So all you're basically purchasing is, if you don't have bananas, some bananas, keep it frozen, or at least buy the ones that are almost ripe. Buy them and then freeze them. And then the tahini, if you're interested in doing the hummus, and then you might want to buy the kelp salt for the extra tuna flavor. But other than that, everything you should probably have at home, and it should be very easy to recreate these dishes.
Beautiful.
The most important thing is that it's high protein, low carb, and whole food plant-based, which is the most rewarding feeling after eating a 3-course meal.
Absolutely. You've made us all very hungry.
I know, and it's like that perfect timing too, 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to go and devour all of this myself because no one's home right now. So thank you guys for allowing me to binge eat on my own food.
Thank you so much for joining us and being here to share what you know and all of the beautiful things that you've started in your business. We're so grateful. And thank you to everybody who joined us this evening. Please sign up for the Bronx Eats newsletter. You can email me at Gail, G-A-I-L, @bronxeats.org, or go to bronxeats.org and look around and sign up to stay connected. And we'll be having more cooking demo series throughout the summer, featuring all Bronx-based cooks and chefs. We also provide many resources to the Bronx community for surviving these challenging times and finding the resources you need. So please feel free to reach out, and I will put my email in the chat box.
Thank you. Any other questions? I want to get closer just to read the questions or comments.
Gail, would you like to mention our next week's cooking demonstration?
Yeah, so we've been on a roll here. We've met the last 3 Tuesdays. Next week we will be also meeting for our final part of the series, and it's on Thursday. So please make a note in your calendar, Thursday at 6 p.m. I'll be sending you a reminder if you're signed up with Bronx Eats, and I'm sure Plant Powered Metro New York will do the same. So keep it in your calendar. We have a great, again, Bronx-based cook who is going to be happy to share her recipes as well.
So in addition to Bronx Cooks Together, Plant Powered Metro New York is presenting many online educational programs this summer in both English and Spanish. Our Spanish one is on Thursdays. That's a weekly series as well at 7 o'clock. We invite you to check out our full event calendar on our website at the link that I am putting in the chat box right now. And we encourage you to, again, join our web-based learning events. This, let me see, the next one we have is on July 7th, and that is on men's health. So if you know anyone who could benefit from that webinar, please encourage them to join us. And we also have a cooking demonstration. Let me see the date. I don't have the date in front of me, but we do have a summer series with Chef Carol Levy. So if you follow us on Instagram and visit our website, again, you can refer to our full calendar event.
If there aren't any more questions, we want to just thank you again. What a wonderful evening.